back. I went live and then immediately decided to ruin my entire setup and fuck up my headphones and shit like that. Hello, everyone. I am starting something new where every, like, I don't know, once a week, possibly on Thursday, possibly on Friday, possibly on some random weekday night or whatever when I'm out at a bar and decide there's nothing better to do, I'm going to be going live for about 30-ish minutes just to say hi and also specifically cater a bit more to the YouTube crowd because I just don't talk to you guys that much on like a one-on-one level, and a lot of my streams currently are over on other apps, right? And so as part of like a little new thing, I'm gonna be having little chats with you guys, primarily to answer questions about tabletop gaming, primarily just to chat. If you've ever been at any of my other streams, it really is like so loosey-goosey. But Miriak, I Ain't Ginger, and NCC, hello to you guys. How's it going? Let me know how you like the vertical stream as well. This is all very new to me. This is my first time ever using YouTube vertical streaming, so forgive me if the sound quality is awful. There is also going to be some shitty droning in the background. That's just because through that closet is my my air conditioning. Like, it comes in straight through there and goes right into my entire setup, so whoopsies. Miriak says, not a voting family quite yet, just haven't driven to meet them. Yeah, it is I guess it's early. I'm over on the West Coast, and so it's only about like 5:30-ish right now. I'm hopping straight from this over to a recording, and then hopping from recording over to probably playing Peak. I've been getting into Peak so much lately. It's been my entire life. I don't know if anyone else has played yet. I was just about to be like, hey, raise a hand if you played Peak. That's not going to work here. But yeah, if you guys have any exciting 4th of July plans, let me know. Oh, God. Oh, no. Why did my graphics card suddenly stop working? Oh, that's going to be a problem for later. But let's see. NCC says, not avoiding family. I am avoiding loud fireworks. Yeah, that is a problem. I am a firm believer in the fact that we should just switch over from fireworks over to drone shows, because drone shows are 100%. They're so much fucking cooler. You can do so much cool shit, and they're reusable. They're not, like, bad for the environment. You don't have a chance of setting the entirety of the Willamette Valley on fire. So that's always fun. But I Ain't Ginger says, how do I get started on D&D or interested? Okay, so the easiest thing you can do, the best thing you can do to get started in D&D is to watch someone else play. I have always really recommended Critical Role Campaign 2 for that, because it's pretty self-contained, it's really condensed, and beyond that, I would also say watching like YouTube tutorials and things like that while you fill out a character sheet, as opposed to just like brute forcing your way through the books. That's always going to be way better and a far preferred method to like actually learning how the math works. You can also get your DM kind of like wrapped in with you on that character building process, so that way you don't have to do it from like, you know, from scratch, completely unaided. The DM will know how to help you. So yeah. IQS says, how far have you gotten in Peak? I have gotten to the top, not solo though, I was with 2 friends, and so I don't have all the badges yet. One thing I do want to do is go through, probably after my recording later, and as I want to go through and just kind of like farm those. So I really want to get into Odie. Hi guys, everyone say hi to Odin, the other co-host for Worlds Apart, the podcast that we're going to be filming like right after this, as soon as I hop off. I was in a Discord call with this asshole and I was like, yeah, I gotta leave, I gotta go stream, and they were like, okay, bye. And then I knew one of you guys would show up here. Hello. NCC also says, drone shows are really cool to watch, and yeah, let's not lamp it on fire. I don't want to lose all those good vineyards, but I work in wine, so I'm biased. Is it a thing? Can you imagine if like, this is such a wild concept. You know how sometimes fires will cause certain types of trees to open up cones and spread seeds more thoroughly, and how some like types of plants need wildfires to come in periodically to kind of encourage growth? Can you imagine if there was that, but with wine grapes, where there was some sort of variety of wine grape that if it was exposed to fire and like, you know, lightly toasted a little, just made a little crisp, then it became better, and then you had like almost like a cross between Jack Daniels and wine. I think that'd be cool. Maybe someone should world build that. Maybe I should world build that. But Odin says, we play Peak later, we reach the peak. Yeah, I really want to. I also want to check out the new updates. I hear it's harder. I don't know. But yeah, Let's see. I Ain't Ginger says, thank you so much. I've been trying, but I can't get into it, but I will soon. If D&D is also really hard. The barrier to entry in D&D is so much harder than most other games. So if you want to try something a little bit easier, Shadow Dark is very much the same thing, but it's way watered down. The mechanics aren't super difficult. You can build a character far more quickly. So I recommend that as like a D&D-like potential option. It's D&D light. That's all it is. But President Junkyard, hello, saying, hi Diana, thanks so much for your small series on obscure games. Led to some really cool discoveries on my end. Oh, good. Yeah, I was supposed to post part 4 of that series last month, but I was just traveling too much. I was barely here. But I do want to do more on that front. I got a bunch of indie games recently. I'm like looking around because they're on a bookshelf over here. Actually, I can show you guys my bookshelf because we have the power. We are on a mobile stream right now. I can do shit like this. So this is my my bookshelf that I have. And then there's also, let me see if I can do this. Where I keep most of my other books nowadays is, there any doxing info here? No. It's this little bookshelf in the middle of my hallway. God, it's so wild. I can show you guys my house. But yeah, so I have, for example, back when I was at Too Many Games Con recently, I went and picked up so much Morkborg shit. But Shadow Dark is what I was talking about just now with regards to D&D, but light. Here's Morkborg, the cartograph, ink, all that sort of stuff. Here's a skull. I think it's a cat skull? Ethically sourced, I promise. But yeah, a bunch of random shit. Outgunned, Into the Sesson Citadel is here. So yeah, I have a bunch of nerd stuff, and so I want to get more into those indie games and showcase them a little bit more, and I will soon. But let's see. Akoto, hi Mal, how's it going? Yeah, Dave says, I'm painting minis, chilling at home, love Shadow Dark. Yes, I'm going to be playing Shadow Dark live on stage at Gen Con here soon. Hopefully that wasn't too loud for you guys. So if you guys are going to Gen Con, I was about to say show of hands again, but yeah, show of hands if you're coming to Gen Con. I will be there doing a bunch of different live games. Technically 2 live games and 2 panels, I believe. So hopefully, I'll see you guys there. If you're on YouTube, if you go to YouTube and you check out the community posts, there's one that has like a list of all of the things that I'm going to be a part of, so. But yeah, NCC says, honestly, besides a few tweaks for the game, Baldur's Gate is a really good way to kind of see the bones of D&D. Yeah, I really recommend it for, like, the vibe. It is very mired in the lore, though, and so, like, I really don't think, I don't know, I also didn't play Baldur's Gate 3 entirely through, but it is very much like a Baldur's Gate game where it's set with a fuck ton of lore that you might not want to dive into if you're not a lore person. It's not really that important, but... Lynn Bieber says, drawing my D&D character while my family scream bingo. Do people still play bingo? I'm kind of surprised we haven't made bingo 2 yet. Like some bingo, but with new rules, or maybe as like a drinking game. Odin says you didn't finish Baldur's Gate. No, I didn't. I'm so sorry. I don't know, man. It broke my computer when I got to Act 3 because of the sheer amount of NPCs that were in that fucking game. And, so my computer at the time was broken to shit, and I ended up giving up on it, and so I just haven't gone back. I haven't had the time, Forgive me for digging around for a sec. I'm gonna try and get some progress done on, my miniatures while I'm here. May as well. Odin says, bro, if you want to do a run through, I got you. We have so much, we can try. Scheduling is going to be a bitch and a half, and you know it as well as I do, but I'm down to give it a shot. But Dice Mice says I have to chill at home instead of going to the family alcohol and fireworks party due to breaking my leg. Shit, that's the most like un-American thing ever, is breaking your leg, having to pay $3,000 to get it fixed, and then not being able to celebrate the 4th of July. Honestly, it's kind of poetic. Potato Slices says, can I write you as a main character in a story or poem? Yeah, as long as they're not like a bitch, go for it. And NCC says scheduling causing problems with D&D related stuff. Never. We also have Soterena says, girl, I wish I could avoid my family all day. Oh yeah, I don't know. I mean, for what it's worth, you can just make an excuse, say you want to chill with the dog instead, cuddle with them. Does anyone have any dogs? I kind of feel bad around this time of year, which would be another benefit of drone shows instead, but let's, That's a whole other conversation. We were talking about nerd shit. Let's see. We also had Potato Slices says I'm thinking you into sci-fi fantasy stories where you're pretty chill. Go for it. And also Rare Gamer says which TTRPG has combat that doesn't drag. You're gonna want to look at games that are powered by the apocalypse. They're incredibly simple. Basically, the way those games work is it's a 2d6 system. So everything you do in the game comes down to a roll of two six-sided dice, and it's more narrative than combat focus. And so you don't do like damage amounts as strongly as D&D does, where you can do like 100 points of damage plus 7 points of fire damage plus whatever the fuck. It's a lot more like smaller numbers, quicker combat, and there's very limited sets of moves that you can make, of things that you can do when you're in combat. So if you look at Powered by the Apocalypse games, Monster of the Week is probably pretty close. There's also more narrative ones, like the one that I played was Monster Hearts, which is a lot more like just straight up people talking and having a conversation. So yeah. Let's see. Pastel says, what are you building? So right now I'm building, I'm kind of going through a massive pile of gray matter. Ugh! I'll pick that up later. From Kingdom Death. So I have all the Kingdom Death minis, that, not all of them, but a decent amount of them. And so right now I'm going through the Black Knight expansion. And so you guys might be able to kind of see, yeah, there we go. There are all the bits and pieces. And I'm just slowly going through. I usually do this during my D&D session, so I have something to do with my hands to put them together. But yeah. Scary Busey says, oh, this is live. Hi! Just picked up a Daggerheart recently and unrelated. I'm currently playing a wizard with a level 1 ranger dip in a 5e 2024 Tomb of Annihilation campaign. Oh, wait, who else is in the party? I'm always so curious how Tomb of Annihilation goes for people, because I know it's canonically like one of the hardest like modules in existence, right? NTC says, the Grey Army, the unending army. Yeah, I can actually, here, let me see if I can show you guys and there we go. So these are the shelves that I always look up at that I never get to show you guys, but I have 3 shelves full of mostly just gray matter that hang above I'm gonna go past these quickly because some of them are not super safe for work because it's Kingdom Death, but a lot of them are, as you can tell, unpainted as shit. But they are really cool. Kingdom Death, as the only reason I play it is because the miniatures are just so sick. It's very adultish though, but I have yet to paint most of them. I think any of them, actually. Let's see. Pastelbox says, do you have any of the Lego D&D figures? I do. So I have the Lego Strahd that someone sent me, and then also a Lego Mimic. And the person who sent the Strahd to me knows that I actually gender bent Strahd in my game to be a female. And so this is her. Oh my god, camera, focus on this. Here we go. And so they sent me like a hair swap, so that way it's actually a girl. And then like a face swap and things like that. So I have that. The Lego Mimic is buried somewhere. I'd have to go like do a whole tour around my office to grab it. But let's see. Potato Slices says, what color are your eyes? They are green, foresty green, sage green. I don't really know. John says, nice, Lady Strahd. Yeah, she's still an incel. She's still like a total bitch, but I made her Latina, so I called her Estrada instead of Strahd. And that's her. So yeah. But let's see. Yeah, any other questions I can answer with regards to, I guess, like tabletop gaming, or we could just hang, we could just chill while I work on this. It's nothing too crazy. I wish I had like a proper setup so I can show you guys like all of the steps of building it out, but right now I'm building Kane from the Black Knight expansion for Kingdom Death. Oh, hey, Abstract Octopi says, oh, I played with a Strahdanya inside the Curse of Strahd campaign I was in. It was just a fun experience. Yeah, I really like it. I think Strahd is, and I've talked about this several times, the reason people like Curse of Strahd so much is because it's got such a good villain. It's got nothing to do with the battles, nothing to do with like the like absolutely fucking, the mini bosses or the progression of the world. It's open world but contained because it's in a demiplane. B, Strahd shows up a lot throughout the campaign. Like, he's not just some dude sitting in a castle that you have to go eventually fight. Like, he is involved in the party's actions. He like sometimes, works against them, works with them just to toy with them, things like that. And yeah, so and like you can straight up have him as a random encounter. Like, you could get really fucking unlucky and just run into him at random. And that sort of stuff is just so cool to me. I don't know. Anyone who's not just in the shadows as some dark otherworldly force the entire fucking time makes for a good enemy. But yeah. NCC says, yay, Lady Strahd, I flipped the script and made Strahd the hero and his brother lycanthrope. Or lycanthrope. I can pronounce things. The only way to keep experienced players on their toes. That's the thing, is people love Curse of Strahd so much, they'll play it over and over again, and they don't really care about spoilers, but you still kind of want to bend things every now and then and throw in some twists and turns to make sure that they're not bored. Especially when you have, so this is something I do for every campaign, where especially if I've had someone who's played the campaign before, I will go through and switch out all of the monsters in the campaign as written for newer monsters that were published after the campaign went out. So for example, the Star Spawn would be a really good example of that. They're like, you know, canonically horrifying Lovecraftian type creatures, but they were published in what, like Volos, I think? And so they're not in any of the written modules, but they're too good to pass up. So I usually do a 1-for-1 swap where I'll figure out what CR level they're at and then swap them out for a monster of an equivalent CR level in the module. And then I just, you know, twist the narration a little bit, make sure it actually makes sense. But yeah, pastelbox says, did you ever dabble in Magic the Gathering with their D&D sets came out? Yes, sort of. I didn't play Magic the Gathering properly, but I look at the cards quite a bit. And one of you guys actually sent me like a full-on box set from the new Magic the Gathering, like, you know, D&D crossover back when it first came out. So that's, I keep that around. It's in a box somewhere. I did open it and look through it because it was cool and pretty, and I like looking at Magic card art. I don't really care much about the game, but the art is so pretty. Let's see. We also have Abstract Octopi, who said, my DM ran the campaign twice already before our game. They definitely knew how to be a looming menace as Stradania. I'd share stories, but I don't want to spoil the campaign for other people live. Good call. But Ken says, speaking of family, my sister just flew into PDX to hang out for the weekend. Dude, I heard PDX got like voted the #1 airport in the United States recently. Granted, I saw that as like some Washington Post short form article, so not like an article, but like, yeah, apparently people really like PDX. I haven't really been there much because I think I went once. Because I live in Central Oregon, right? I live in Redmond, the Redmond Bend area. So Redmond Airport is my home airport, which means that I don't have to go to PDX all that much for anything. Usually if I fly out somewhere, it's locally. But I did go there once when I had the worst fucking time getting to PAX Unplugged last year because the snow delayed absolutely everyone coming in, and the new, like the next flight that wouldn't have been delayed to go to Philadelphia would have been like 3 days later, which would have been after the convention. So I don't know. I just ended up, I was like, fuck this. I hopped in my car at 9 o'clock at night, drove over the pass 3.5 hours to go to Portland, and then just hitched a flight out from PDX. And begged my mom to drive me to the airport. So that was how I made it. But Captain Finkel says, how did you end up coming to organizing a PAX Australia trip? Great to see you making the trip. Yeah, so I have a bunch of friends out on the East Coast. Odie, who was here 2 seconds ago, I don't know if he's still here, is one of them. My co-host for the podcast is out there. Madaloon, my GM for the previously Dungeons of Demigods, and then currently a Chains of Asmodeus campaign. She's out there, and so I just have a non-zero amount of friends who are out on the eastern coast of Australia, and so they were like, I don't know, I love visiting Australia as well. It's not my first time going. My first time was back, oh god, ages ago. I went to Perth, and so I really absolutely love it there. The fucking exchange rate is fantastic if you're an American tourist, because it works very strongly in our favor, I'll say. And then there's also just like, the culture is so easy to get along with because they're so, you know, everyone speaks English. They have some amazing wildlife, and you know, it's great. It's a solid trip. And so I was like, fuck, it's been a couple years, I should go back. And we ended up pulling in myself and then my friend Kiki, and then their partner James, and we're all doing like a big trip down, and we decided to just organize it around PAX Australia. And then the PAX team has been so amazing at it, at like helping us out, that they were like, yeah, we'll get you on any panels you want, like we'll get you a badge, we'll get you, you know, a meet and greet if you want. So I might be doing a meet and greet, so it'll be super fun. But AX says, good evening, hope you're doing well, super happy to finally catch a live. Yeah, this is my first ever like YouTube exclusive live, so it's great to see you guys. I'm glad so many people are saying hi as well. Potato also says, I love writing D&D. Writing D&D is so easy. I really think I should be doing it more, considering the fact that they make it quite simple, and there's so many monsters and so much like lore and stuff available that you don't have to do everything from scratch if you don't want to, and they make it quite easy. Like some of the best modules known to man by popular vote and things like that are from people who just wrote their own third-party stuff. And the fact that the OGL was expanded and everything is now like free and easy to use and publish and use in actual plays and things like that was really nice. So Scary says, I have a question. I play with a family that's seriously roleplay light, but I struggle to get invested in the game if I'm not interacting with other characters. Are there any tips to encourage players to roleplay? Ooh, yes. So I would personalize the campaign a lot more. And I would make sure that they're not just doing a dungeon crawl, but they're doing a dungeon crawl that has real consequences for their character. So, maybe they have, I guess it depends on what they put in their backstory as well, but anything that's in their backstory should be used against them, essentially, and should be brought in as a reference. I would also make it so that there are certain characters who have information that the rest of the party does not have by virtue of the fact that it's written into their backstory. So maybe if you go up and you talk to a certain merchant, the merchant might be a family member of one of the player characters, and all of a sudden that player character now has extra stake in that particular conversation, and they'll have more onus to step forward and drive the conversation a little bit more, and they have more stake in the decisions being made. So I would kind of give everyone a chance at the spotlight in that sense and make sure that everyone has something personal to them that is related to the main story. So yeah, that can help. I would also make sure that there are proper, like, you're speaking in first person when you are role playing as the NPCs and as another player character. And so if it's like one of those parties that's like, oh yeah, I would like to step into this shop, buy 50 feet of rope and leave. How much gold is it? Then, kind of prompting them to actually have a conversation with the shopkeeper will help a ton. So yeah, hopefully that helps. But yeah, let's see. Rasulin, hello, is saying, I got a notification email for Darkness: The Brink of Ohio that is close to shipping. Will you be playing it on stream when it's fully out? I don't think we've had an arrangement for that. I don't do a lot of solo role-playing games on stream. Darkness: The Brink of Ohio was definitely one of my favorites, but that was primarily also, like, it was a sponsored stream, and I don't know if they need me for another sponsored stream anytime soon. If they do, I'd be super happy to. But I think they've moved on to, like, larger projects as well. Like, if they needed someone to do, for example, forgery, or any of the forgery type games that they've also put out, I would do that in a heartbeat. That looks like so much fun. Sweet Laser says, I met Maddie at a Gen Con party last year. She was so nice. Maddie is the sweetest human being ever. She's so fantastic. But yes, I will be at Gen Con for whoever asked as well. But I will be there, and I will be on a couple panels, two actual plays. It was going to be 3 actual plays, but then scheduling. So they had enough crossover on Friday where I was like, fuck, I have to choose between a really fun body swappers, like, mothership game or a charity Shadow Dark game. And I was like, well, it's for charity. I gotta do the Shadow Dark game. So that's what I'm doing. Vinny Smiles, hello. Good to see you. Welcome in. And then Lex says, hey, excited to see you on live. I've been really enjoying your videos. Do you have any tips for new players to quickly get up to speed? Yeah, we kind of discussed this at the top of the stream, but the best way to get someone into a game is to make sure that they know how it works and they are watching someone else play. So, like, I learned the entirety of D&D and any game by watching Critical Role. I would also say, if you mean like getting someone into a campaign midway through and getting them up to speed on the story, it might just take someone like sitting down and writing out, a quick summary of what happens, or maybe you don't need to catch them up on what's happening in the campaign. Like, in game, they wouldn't have any idea what happened because they weren't there. They weren't part of the party, so they don't know all these encounters that the party went through up until this point. And so they probably, I don't know. Yeah, you probably don't need to do it because it would almost be metagaming to a certain point. But it might just be as easy as it might just be as easy as, what was I gonna say? Like, yeah, I guess just sitting down and having a meeting with them. That'd probably help. Let's see. Vinny Smile says, I got my buddies addicted to D&D by jamming a Deadlands one-shot. Oh, that sounds fun. There needs to be more like Wild West, like Deadlands type, like almost semi-apocalyptic, but in the Wild West type campaigns. Those would be so much fun. But yeah, Cody Solano says, hey, I just rolled an 18. My dog needs a mom. Jesus. But Charles Stacy says, hope your day is going well. Hello. And Alex Breeze, hello. Let's see. Stubbs says, what up, sister? I love your videos. I've always wanted to play D&D, but never anyone to play with. That is a very common issue. So usually I recommend, if it's like a scheduling thing, highly recommend using, like the either Let Us Meet or when to meet. There's two websites that you can use, and quite literally you just go on and the GM will fill out what days that they're available, and then they send a link to everyone else in the group, and then everyone else in the group will fill in what times of day that they're typically available on those days. And so they are usually it's a really easy way. It's how we set up all our actual plays, especially when we have so many people in different time zones and on different schedules. So I recommend that if scheduling is an issue. Otherwise, I do recommend start playing as well. It's gotten a little bit more expensive over the years as people get more and more used to paid GMing, and start playing has become more popular. But essentially you can go on, you can find a game master who's experienced in whatever game you're looking for, and then they will, oh, this is not the piece that goes here, and they'll have like the dates and times that they play posted, and you can choose one that works for you and your friends. So Potato Slices says, are you left-handed, Diana? I am not. But Dice Mice says, the campaign I'm running next year is going to be Wild West. Only you're playing mice in the Sonoran Desert. Oh, that sounds so fun. Oh, it sounds adorable too. But let's see. Hugo Boss says, I don't think I'd be able to make it as a DM. The first hour spent with them calling me a naked snake, dwarf hiding maps in his pants, and the poor DM crying in the corner laughing. To be honest, those are some of the best moments. Like, I've had just like bits that have ended up being so iconic. But yeah, that tends to be like the way to go, honestly. And I feel like people who push too hard for the actual campaign to continue and, to be a driving force in the campaign, that's fine. I get where they're coming from. But at the same time, if there's no room for levity at all, even in a serious campaign, you have to have moments where people can joke around and just have fun, because those are the moments that people remember. But yeah, NCC says, oh, I saw your vid on the wisdom teeth dice. What a great idea. Yeah, so for those who saw, I had basically I had all 4 of my wisdom teeth taken out. I just want to throw it out there. In my defense, they did not have to come out. I got them out, recreationally, I guess, for funsies. My dentist was basically like, hey, it's not like you're bad at brushing your wisdom teeth, but it's just going to be easier on everyone, myself included, 3 years from now if you just get rid of them. And then that way you don't have to deal with brushing them at all. And I was like, okay, fine. How much is it going to be? And he was like $700. And I'm like, how much is it after insurance? And he's like, no, that is after insurance. So I got all 4 of my wisdom teeth taken out. They came out quite nicely. They looked quote unquote beautiful, according to the person who I gave them to get them changed into dice, to get them, encased in resin. And now I use them for wisdom saving throws. So yeah, highly recommend. I also had to take a chance to make sure that Whitney, the creator, wouldn't like use them to cast some spell on me or some shit. But I trust her. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a super easy process, a nice little commission project essentially, and she also has done it previously, so she did it on her own teeth a little while ago and is going to be doing it again here soon. Someone else also popped in the comment section saying that they had taken their blood and used it to create like blood liquid core dice essentially, which is so fucking cool. And then we started talking about the concept of different types of dice and what they would be used for and what they would be made out of and what sort of saving throws they would be used for. So we talked about, I think it was like blood would be a constitution saving throw, brain bits, if you could get that encased in dice, would be like intelligence saving throws, wisdom teeth for wisdom, obviously, things like that. Dave says, I've seen the dice, pretty cool. And then Tim says, and a little creepy. Yeah, that is the point. I do have a lot of mildly creepy shit around my apartment. I mean, I have a decent amount of skulls, right? And then recently I got my electric panel, finally, covered up. So this is my electric panel, and I put a Morkborg like poster on it. I can show you guys actually, if you're down for some gory type shit. The reason I love Morkborg is because it does a really good job of describing gore, and I do a lot of body horror in my games, and so there's a whole poster that they sold at Too Many Games Con recently, which has basically a roll table of how you can get injured without dying but being on the brink of death in a game. And so occasionally I'll just like be DMing at my desk and I'll just look over here and see all this. Plus it covers the electric thing, so is it fire safe? Probably fucking not, but it's okay. Who cares? Anyway, NCC says we like a little creepy though, right? Yeah, that's why I have bones everywhere in my apartment. Ethically sourced and not human. Just make that abundantly clear. Tim Lee says umbilical cord and baby teeth dice. Yeah, like if your dog is getting its teeth taken out, you can probably, do that and get like those encased in resin, which would be so cool. Potato Slices says, where'd you get the dress? I think on Amazon ages ago, honestly. It's been a hot sec. But yeah, Sweet Laser says this is a gore poster to code. No one tell my landlady, okay? I'm gonna trust you all to keep that shit on lock. Keep it on the down low, rather. Mariak also says, speaking of bones, I know where to get an ethically sourced human skull. How can you do that? Is that something that you can only do when it comes to like a family member passing away and willing it to you, or is it like something that you can just get? Like, can you buy one? If you're a student somewhere, can you get one? How does that fucking work? But Stitch19 says, I wish I could meet a beautiful woman as yourself that's into D&D and nerd culture. Hinge, honestly. But that, and actually, the unfortunate part about being a nerd and dating, right, is you have to actually leave your house in order to do it. And that pissed me off to no end when I started dating, because I was like, fuck, all my hobbies are indoors. How am I going to meet anyone who also likes indoor hobbies if we're all just separately in our own houses doing nerd shit? But going to events at local game shops is always really nice. There's this one brewery near me that's like a board game bar type thing. It's called Kobold Brewing, and they host the occasional like live D&D event. And I actually became friends with the DM who works for them because he's also a bartender at a different cocktail bar that I tend to go to. So, you know, going out and meeting people, at least in a small town like Bend, is not the worst thing in the world. But Rolly says a giant D20 with a skull. Yeah, that'd be so cool. But yeah. Anyway, let's see. Stephen says, can you sign away the rights for your bones so they can be ethically sourced? You have to be able to, right? Either that, or if you get cremated and you take your ashes and then they get like compressed into a diamond or whatever the fuck, or turned into a gem or something like that. Because I know that's a thing. And then getting that made into a die or like embedded in the center of a die would be so cool. So I don't know. I think it'd be cool. Tim Lee says, find a neutral lady and then get them hooked on D&D. Yeah, I find that almost everyone has at least a passing interest in D&D, so it's easier than you think. But anyway, speaking of passing interests, I do have to skedaddle because I'm going to run off to a recording of Worlds Apart here in about a second. I can already tell. I think my co-host is like ready and waiting for me, so I'm going to scoot off. I hope you guys have a lovely 4th of July. Thank you so much for the first ever episode of this little test run of a live show that I've got going on. I do also live stream for about an hour and a half on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so you can pop back here and see like it's usually gaming. But for these little one-on-one chats, I will get a proper schedule sorted and post it in the community tab for you guys, and also in the Discord when I remember. So sorry it was so short. It's just I'm busy. But either way, I hope you guys enjoy the holidays. I hope say hi to your dog for me, and I will talk to you all later. Thank you so much for hanging out. Bye-bye. How the fuck do I end this? There we go.